welcome everyone. It's nice to see you all again. I'm Joel Whitney, and I co-founded Guernica magazine and have been looking systematically at least since Guernica was founded in 2004, at this question of how art and politics can interface, whether art can have impact on politics and on culture and on society in ways that we can control and that can do good. And I'll let that stand for the introduction, but I do want to get all of the curators here to talk before we start talking philosophically and broadly. Just to start where the show ends, which is, please identify yourself, I guess is the first question, and maybe we could start with Thea, and also tell us what kind of curator. Is that the second question? What kind of curator are you? What kind of art do you curate?
My name is Tupajic, and I'm a theater director. I'm not a curator.
And what brought you to directing theater in a nutshell? How did you get into the field?
Well, I think it's how did I get into the field? I've been doing this since I was 6. But that's hard to...
How did you start at 6?
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is extraordinary. How did you start at 6?
I was at the children's theater.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't direct then, but... yeah, so.
You were doing what, acting?
Yeah, I was like with the children's theater. And since then, yeah, I'm a theater.
Good. Well, don't be shy about these personal questions, because I watched my old friend Vallejo in the hot seat last night, and so we're turning it back on all of you, and you better get used to it.
I didn't quite expect that.
FLorian, you were in the show last night, so I'll be slightly easier on you. But give us the same information. Just tell us a little bit where you are in curating or programming. I know that was one of the questions last night.
Yeah, as well as said, I'm now director of a festival, but the first edition is coming up, so I didn't do it yet. And I guess with the question yesterday would be, what is your role in art? I would say there was a certain moment when I kind of found out that I'm not a theater director, that I'm not an artist, and since then I would say I'm working close around it. So I work as a curator, but also as a dramaturg for some shows. I'm writing about shows, so I do everything that is not the artwork itself, in a way. And I would say, maybe to contextualize it a bit, that the field of theater and dance that I'm involved in would be however you want to call it, experimental field, so non-dramatic, post-dramatic theater, conceptual dance, and so on. So it would be rather this part of theater and dance that I'm working on in the last years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, your turn. Hi. I'm assuming some people here know you, but just tell us a little bit, in a nutshell, who you are as someone in theater arts and how you came to that. This is a jumping off point.
Okay, so my name is Petra Zanki, and I'm mainly a performer and choreographer. And there was a dance platform in Austria in 2009 where there was a bunch of curators. Also, there were many dance artists and choreographers, but many curators. I've never seen them so much at the same place at the same time. So there was one curator approaching, and then she says, "Oh, I wish if these dancers do something for us." So this is how it was like. Interesting. And that was like a little notch of the idea.
Petra, do you have someone that you think of as just when your sense of yourself as someone who wanted to engage in the arts, when that sense first came to you, was there someone who sort of opened your mind to the idea that art existed in the world and it should have a certain engagement, whether political or cultural?
Yeah, first, I think that's an interesting question. Through this whole 3 years, I have been thinking, is art a direct weapon or a hammer to make a concrete change, or it also has the other means to act, which opened for me now, after these 3 years, when I was like hammering all the time. In Croatia, I also was very much forced to look to the context we come from, where there is a lot of this political engagement in the theater, in the arts, maybe because there was so many abrupt changes in this 20 years. Actually, more than 20, the last 100 years, we had 3 wars. Like First War, Second War, and the National War for the Liberation. So it was like constantly, like they were systems overthrown. It was the kingdom, then it was like, then it was communism, then the capitalism came, and I have witnessed 2 systems falling apart, coming and now falling apart. Like neoliberalism is also like, oh my God, where I am, like says neoliberalism. You know, so it's quite interesting, but it's also challenging. It makes the artists very aware of what's going on, and also because it's all new, your possibilities to change things are bigger, and your impact is bigger than, for example, when I was in France, where everything is set. So the artists feel quite immobile. They don't know even how to go to act, or because it's so set. The system is so set that there is not so much possibility for the action. Even though it looks like it is, maybe in 70s it was more, but there is a certain thing, or in Sweden when we were, like, then you don't know how to deal, how to engage with it. So that was one thing, and I lost the thread.
An artist or a playwright or a choreographer, someone you saw sort of how they engage with the world, not just as an artist, but also sort of as a cosmopolitan or a political fighter or even a propagandist.
I mean, the most recent example that we all know, and it's maybe a bit too popular right now, it's Ai Weiwei, who was, by one project, for example, employing the whole village to work. This is the work that I really like, because I saw the work in Tate. It's a visual artist, so I don't see so much of that in the theater. I see so much more of that in the other field of arts. So the work itself with the seeds of the sunflower was powerful, and as a formalistic piece of work was very beautiful also. And what I also think that is also power of art that we didn't speak here, and that opened to me in these last 3 years, that art can also save by beauty. I know that sounds a bit strange to say it, but there is a weapon of art that opens up this transcending moment. So not necessarily by camera, it has its other means. So that was very powerful because it was like so thick, and it was like extremely powerful image. These porcelain sunflower seeds, but also the movie in which he shows that the village was working with this Western money given by Tate, in which the villagers were working the old ways when they were able to share stories and working from their homes and painting those seeds. And living of it was for me like a really good merge between the engagement in the society and his final product or artwork. Voilà.
And in the culture wars, increasingly the arts are being pushed into the left wing. Is that what you said earlier?
There's a famous quote by the right-wing politician of the Netherlands who said art is a left-wing hobby, and I think that's a very common belief, but also the US, isn't it?
Yeah, in many ways. What about in Croatia? Is there a rise of the right that's pushing art to be seen as sort of a left-wing endeavor? Often the artists are of the left, the avant-garde is of the left. The artists are not nationalistic enough. I mean, it seems like with the idea of Europe and the funding coming from Europe, that would offset that somewhat. But Is there a big rightist movement at all in Croatia?
Not right now, no. It's very unpopular. But there are some traces of course, and undercover. But it's very interesting how the scene, independent scene, which is quite educated in Croatia, developed from George Soros funds. My projects in the beginning, I started as an activist with arts and culture, building the dialogue with young Serbian artists, and we have been educated how to fundraise, how to do PR. Never anybody ever heard of PR before. So like, what's the media? What's the lobbying? Like, oh my God, there's something bad. No, it's not bad. You can do it. Oh, really? I mean, it's like bribing, but in a legal way. This is how it was seen. So, okay, lobbying, good. So all these things, and I was early 20s, and all these people with whom I have started through these NGOs funded mainly by George Soros are people now in their 40s or 30s, like mid-30s, mid-40s, who are actually this independent scene. And what happened is these people are much more educated than the people who now go through this program through the European Union, who do not even know how to write projects or how to lobby, so they have this lack of knowledge, which gives the independent scene the advantage to push for leftist ideas, because it's quite strong. The people know how to talk, they know how to write, they know how to pull out the funds from EU, and which is very funny. Culture and the science were the first one to fill all the criteria for acceptance in European Union. Culture was the first, arts were the first, and all these people were educated through this. And now the economy in this like age of my mother, she was born in like 54, and these people, they don't know. So this is what it gives power.
Soros would be, I mean, it's an extra topic, but Soros' foundation is super interesting for a large part of
East
East Europe, because Yugoslavia, ex-Yugoslavia especially, but in many other countries, the Soros Foundation started building all these NGOs in the beginning, which is super interesting, and then it dropped out. So there's also some strings attached, but it's quite interesting the role of the Soros Foundation, I think.
It's really multi-layered. I mean, once you start to watch into it, it's almost like turning your eyes into yourself, and oh my God, what's that? You know, like so.